Okay, the kids are off to school and I can tell you about today. So today is a very exciting day for me because I am learning to make brioche with Valerie. I met Valerie completely by accident. One of my tennis buddies told me that there is some French woman in our area who bakes amazing croissants in her house. And I was like, yeah, right. No one bakes amazing croissants in their house. But curiosity got the best of me and I went online and ordered Valerie's croissants and oh my God, they were just perfect. Absolutely outstanding texture. So this gave me an idea. What if I persuade Valerie to teach me to make brioche? You see, I've been struggling with brioche on and off for many years. I'm at the point that I can bake very nice buns, like burger buns, but anything rectangular is a disaster. My brioche loaves look perfectly puffy and brown and lovely when I pull them out of the oven, but within minutes start to pull in on the sides, producing that ghastly hourglass shape and yucky dense texture inside. I've got every advice imaginable both online and from my baking friends. You're overproofing, you're underproofing, you're underbaking, your heat is too high, your heat is too low. I mean, I don't know. I've tried every solution possible. I still can't make those damn brioche walls stay put. The problem is that I have never in my life seen anyone make brioche or any bread really. Yes, I have watched every brioche video on YouTube, but that's not the same thing. So today, for the first time in my life, I am going to watch someone who knows what they're doing make brioche in real life. So I'm extremely nervous about this kind of video. Do you ever watch Alex, the French guy cooking YouTube channel? He usually makes series of videos that document a struggle with some difficult culinary technique, like ramen, croissants, pizza. But in the end, Alex always succeeds. And I don't know if I can succeed at this. I feel like there is this brioche curse on me. Like, I've tried everything, so I really don't know how we're going to fix this. Why am I doing this? That's a good question. So I'm doing this because it's a mystery that I want to solve. I'm not the only person who has encountered this problem. For any serious bread bakers out there, you guys probably know the Fresh Loaf website. It's a site for bread cakes. Several people, including me, have reported this problem and asked for help, and no one was able to help us. People definitely tried to help us, but those who tried to give us advice have not encountered this problem themselves. So their advice was completely theoretical and often contradictory. I bet most professional bakers wouldn't be able to make this disaster happen even if they tried. So I have a unique opportunity. I know the procedure that produces failure. If I can learn the procedure that does not produce failure, I will get the Rosetta Stone of brioche and I'll be able to help all those home bakers who struggle with this just like me. Okay, time to run. Wish me luck. All right, my friends, I am back with the correct butter. The butter I was using was American butter, and Valerie does it with European style butter, which has 82% fat content. So I ran out of Whole Foods to get some. And we'll also need to make some pastry flour. So most of the flour in Valerie's recipe is bread flour. There it is, King Arthur bread flour. This is what I've been using for my brioche normally, but she also adds a little bit of pastry flour, and it turns out pastry flour is expensive and hard to find, so she gave me a recipe for it. 180 grams of King Arthur all-purpose flour and add 90 grams of King Arthur cake flour. So it turns out I have both all-purpose and cake flour of the correct brand. So we're gonna combine those and sift it 7 times. Yes, and that, my friends, is pastry flour. The yeast is SAF instant yeast, and that's what I normally use, and that's what her recipe calls for. And salt and sugar, pretty straightforward. All right, and here's how it works. The milk and eggs need to be cold straight from the fridge, but the butter needs to be not quite room temperature, but not quite the fridge, somewhere in the middle. So I'm gonna cut up my butter and get it to warm up just a tad and start making the dough. Okay, so the dough is done, it's in the fridge, and here's the plan. Tomorrow I'm going back to Valerie's house. We're going to shape our doughs, the dough that we made together in her house and the dough that I made by myself. We're gonna shape it, proof it, and bake it and see what happens. So another thing that I bought today besides the special butter is also a pan. So this is the Pullman pan that Valerie uses. I ran out to a restaurant depot store to get this. This is the pan in which I was baking before. So as you could see, this one is way taller than this one and more narrow. So I'm not sure whether it's a great idea to be baking brioche, which is a very fragile bread, in such a narrow, tall pan. So there are a couple of things that are making me a little nervous about this whole thing already. The first thing was that I was making only half of the batch because there was no way to fit the entire batch into my mixer. I have like a basic classic KitchenAid, like the smallest, cheapest model of KitchenAid. And Valerie has a professional KitchenAid mixer with a huge bowl. So I halved the recipe. And so my dough in the end ended up being a little bit warmer than hers, just by, a couple of degrees Celsius, because I think it's a little bit harder to keep a little batch cool. Another thing that was a huge difference is the way our mixers worked. So Valerie did not have to get her dough out of the mixer at all. Everything stayed in the mixer, and as the dough climbed up the hook, eventually it fell back down and kind of rearranged itself. While in my mixer, it basically climbs up the hook and stays there. So I don't know if my mixer was mixing nearly as evenly. So several times during the mixing process, I had to get my dough out of the mixer onto the counter and just fold it a few times to keep things even. So I hope it helped, but I'm not totally sure. And oh yeah, the speed. So she has a control of many speeds. Her low is very low. So the lowest speed that my mixer had was way faster than the speed at which we mixed the dough at Valerie's house. So the speeds were different, the mixer was different, the batch size was different, and as much as I tried to keep everything the same, of course, there were some differences. But I'm hoping that there's still things that we'll still find some way to make it work, but we'll see. All right, so tomorrow I will probably not be filming in the morning because I'm heading to Valerie's house really early. So I'll see you when we're shaping and baking. All right, bye-bye. Valerie, I've got the dough. Are you ready? Well, you know what? Even if it doesn't work, at least I'll know if it's my kneading or if it's my shaping, because I'm going to do shaping supervised. Okay. Right? So nothing can go wrong with shaping and baking, because Valerie is here to protect me from the scary brioche. The difference between our doughs was striking. Mine was way more yellow and way more sticky. At first, we were completely puzzled by it. But after a little research online, here is what I found out. My KitchenAid mixer has a tilt head. Tilt heads only come with C-hooks, which are not very good at kneading bread dough. Valerie's KitchenAid is a professional series with a bowl lift, and those come with spiral hooks. A spiral hook oxidizes the dough more, thus lighter color, and it mixes it a lot more thoroughly and evenly, resulting in a dough that's less sticky. At least this is my hypothesis. We weighed out 80-gram pieces of dough. Then Valerie showed me how to shape them into balls. Turned out you need to be very fast and very aggressive, otherwise the butter softens and the dough starts to stick. Then we placed 8 balls into buttered pans and put the pans into this amazing machine called the proofer that creates a perfect warm and humid place for our dough to rise. I was surprised that even with the proofer, it took us over 2 hours to get our dough to reach the top of the pan. This means that at room temperature in winter, it can easily take me 5 hours. We egg washed and baked Valerie's loaf first. I like her test for doneness a lot more than a thermometer. I don't think thermometers work all that well for breads. She just stabs it with a knife, and if the knife comes out clean, it's done. It was amazing to see how quickly you can go from a gooey knife to a clean knife. Just 2 minutes can make a difference, and it's very important not to overbake a brioche or it will taste dry. It's also important to keep the bread in the oven when testing, otherwise it can collapse. Then we egg washed and baked mine. We cooled our loaves in the pans for 5 minutes and then tipped them out. And then I was staring at my loaf, waiting for the walls to start collapsing. But they did not, and I thought I was going to cry from happiness.
Okay, now I need to go home and I need to do this all over again to make sure that I can still recreate these results with my own equipment. No professional proofer and no excellent electric oven, gas oven and proofing room temperature.
Okay, the moment of truth. Let's see how the inside turned out. Is that a tunnel I see? Yes, it's a tunnel. That's probably because of not shaping my balls tightly enough. But otherwise, the texture is good, very moist and very airy. This was an incredible experience. Valerie, if you're watching this, thank you. I really hope Valerie starts teaching baking classes because I'd be the first to sign up. If you're more interested in eating heavenly buttery things instead of baking them, check out Valerie's website below. After these 2 days, there are a couple of questions that I got clear answers to. I now know the right pan to use, how much dough to put into it, and how to tell when the loaf has finished proofing and is ready to bake. I also know how to test brioche for doneness, just bake until the knife comes out clean. But the kneading remains a little mysterious and seems to depend a lot on which exact mixer you have. There is a huge difference between Valerie's mixer and mine. Yes, I could certainly buy it, that's what most professional bakers have, but I am uneasy coming up with a recipe for my students and viewers that requires a $400 mixer. I'd rather know all the pitfalls of working with an entry-level mixer so that I could warn you about them. So on most channels, this is the end of the story. I have struggled with the cooking technique and then I succeeded! In theory, I could give you a recipe in the description below and make you feel that you too could make it. And that would be a fabulous video for 99.9% of people because they are not going to make it. Who are we kidding? But since my channel is for that 0.1% of people who might try to make brioche, I think my story is only beginning. I promise to practice a lot for the next few months and eventually make a video for you on how to make brioche. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have some brioche to eat because, you know, tunnels and all, it's pretty darn good.